The incoming White House press secretary. So we are expecting, based on what Tom Homan has said, we're expecting to see raids in sanctuary cities and elsewhere, maybe on the first full day of the Trump term, right, Caroline?
Well, I would never comment on specific law enforcement operations, but what I will tell you is that the American people can expect that President Trump and his administration are going to deliver on the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. And one of many of those promises is launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history. The Biden administration has allowed an unsustainable wave of illegal immigrant criminals into our countries. We have seen them migrate into every community in every state across this country. Every state is now a border state. This is unsustainable, and anyone who breaks our nation's laws has to be removed from this country. We must be a nation of law and order. And don't just take it from me. The American people are on President Trump's side when it comes to this promise. According to a new New York Times poll that was released this morning, 68% of Americans support sending illegal immigrants home, and 83% of Americans support deporting illegal immigrants, especially those who have committed crimes in this country. So President Trump has the support of the American people on his side, and he is going to deliver on this very important promise to secure our nation's borders and deport illegal migrant criminals.
He's got an experienced guy at the helm. Here's what Tom Homan says about what is ahead.
President Trump has been clear from day one, from the campaign on to today, that he's going to secure the border, and he's going to have the deportation operation. There has to be consequences for violating our laws. To enter the country legally is a crime. Then to commit a crime against a U.S. citizen, President Trump's had it. He has no patience. We're going to start this operation. We're going to fulfill the mandate the American people gave him on Election Day.
The president has also said he would like to end birthright citizenship, the idea that if you come to this country, give birth, that child is automatically an American citizen. But the president doesn't have the power just to sign a presidential order and make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's widely contested, and the president will deliver on that promise as well. And that is also something that is widely supported by the American people. And we've seen the catastrophic consequence of being one of the only developed nations in this world that allows people to migrate here, give birth, and then their offspring automatically become citizens of the United States. If you look at foreign ambassadors to the United States of America, when they are serving here in our country and they have a child, that child doesn't automatically become a citizen because they're a foreign ambassador for a foreign nation. When that job ends, then that right is restored to the child, and voila, you're an American citizen. President Trump doesn't support that. The American people don't either. We expect that this order will eventually make its way to the court system, but we fully believe that the 14th Amendment does not give the right of people to migrate to this country, give birth, and then their children become citizens. And again, we've seen an entire industry come to fruition because of this law that only America has in the Western Hemisphere.
You've seen the tens of thousands of people who descended on Washington today to protest the incoming Trump administration. A lot of Democrats are saying that they are going to be resisting. Even rank and file federal workers have essentially said that they are going to be resisting, doing whatever they can to resist President Trump and his plans and executive orders. How do you respond to that?
The support for President Trump in this city and across this great country is much louder and much greater than the defeated resistance that opposed him on November 5th and may continue to this day. But President Trump is going to be a president for all Americans, from red states and blue states. He is unifying this country. You are seeing people from Silicon Valley, from Main Street to Wall Street, who are coming out in support of President Trump and his policies. As I noted, I'd ask your audience to take a look at the New York Times poll that was released this morning. The vast majority of Americans support President Trump's common sense agenda to put the American people and their interests first. And he's going to do that for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed. And there are hundreds of thousands of great patriots from across this country who are descending upon Washington this weekend to watch President Trump's inauguration festivities on Monday. We are going to say goodbye to the doom and gloom of the Biden administration and hello to a new golden era of America under President Trump.
Well, our viewers are going to be seeing a lot of you as press secretary, incoming White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.